Welcome to the Voice of Retail. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc. This podcast is brought to you in conjunction with Retail Council of Canada. Welcome to a special NRF Big Show 2022 bonus episode of the podcast, one of a series of exclusive interviews produced to support the show, the vendors, and the industry thought leaders heading into the new year. These bonus episodes all follow a similar format. First, we learn about my guest and the company they work for and what they're talking about to retailers at the big show this year. Second, based on their experience, knowledge, and conversations with retail clients, 2 starts and 1-stop advice for retailers listening. And last but not least, where you can go to learn more. All right, let's jump right in. But Jordan, welcome to a special bonus edition of The Voice of Retail. How are you doing today?
I am doing pretty well, and it's lovely to hear your voice once again.
Well, I was thinking back to when you and I actually physically saw each other. At first, my thought was it was a Retail Council store, but then I actually think too long ago it was at the NRF 2020, right, where we physically last talked to each other. So it's been a while. It's been way too long.
It has. Last did we know, 2 months later, the world would be flipped upside down for a short period of time. But hopefully we can all be together again in person soon.
Yeah, let's from your lips to whose ever ears, right? Let's thank you for joining me on the podcast, and let's jump in. Tell you and I, obviously, to the listeners, know each other. I know something of your business. Doesn't mean I know all about your business, but why don't we start there? Tell us about who you are, a bit of your background, and what you do at Nudge.
Perfect. And again, pleasure to be here today. And to everyone listening, thanks for joining in. So, Jordan Ekers, I am the co-founder and chief operating officer of an organization called Nudge. And we've built a communication and engagement platform that leading retailers like Staples and Michael Kors and Golf Town rely on to communicate and engage with frontline staff to essentially empower them to deliver an exceptional customer experience in store. And a little bit on the background, retailer through and through. So played the role of the frontline associate once upon a time, responsible for interacting with customers, was then part of a company that was acquired by one of the largest loyalty programs in North America. So I spent a fair amount of time on the operating side of retail. And that's really for me where I've recognized the role that frontline associates play in delivering a great customer experience, and a little bit around the lack of tools that were provided to the frontline. So all of that came together, started Nudge 8 years ago, and we're working with a number of the most world's prominent brands across the world.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Talk about the scope and scale. You're based in Toronto, but of course, these days, any days, that just happens to be where you hang your hat. Talk about scope and scale, where you operate, and all that stuff.
Yeah, headquarters in Toronto. Nudge is now live and supporting frontline teams across 24 different countries.
Nice,
and a variety of different verticals from retail, food service, hospitality. The broader theme here is anyone that interacts with a customer or guest can be a user of Nudge to support them in delivering a great experience.
Now, what brought us here today was the NRF Big Show, as we were saying. If I was to stop in and say hi, I know a tremendous amount of planning goes in to any conference. What's new? What's new in the tickle trunk, so to speak? What would, if you and I were talking today live and I was from a retailer, what would you be talking about different? I can imagine, based on all the things that are happening in retail and around us, that you guys have been working hard on solutions. But walk me through a little bit about what you would be talking to me about if you and I were together and standing on the floor at the NRF show.
Yeah, first and foremost, we have a chance to interact with retailers every day, learn about what they're trying to navigate, and without a doubt, the most prominent challenge that the industry is trying to navigate at this current time is the labor market. And so retaining staff, attracting staff, we've all seen the series of advertisements to try to have individuals apply for jobs at the various retailers. And so you have this kind of labor market force. You have this collision of heightened customer expectations that we've never experienced before as an industry, as consumers continue to come back in store and interact with retailers in ways they hadn't before because of all the omni-channel disruption that's happened over the last 24 months. And so for us, that key theme here is how can brands prioritize investing in their employees to help create a brand that attracts and retains associates, but ultimately supports them in delivering on those exceptional customer experience. So most brands we're talking about right now, it's all about attracting, retaining, and supporting your front line to meet the expectations of customers.
You reminded me of our last conversation, and you and I were talking about how, in a different context in the before time, how important stores and associates were becoming in programs like yours, because at the margins, at the last marginal return on your investment of dollar, it was hard to get more traffic. So many retailers, I'm sure your clients were turning their minds to, let's make sure that anyone who walks across the sales floor has a higher percentage likelihood of actually purchasing. And a lot of that comes down to what you and Nudge does, right? So now we're at that point where we've, what was turning our minds to is kind of a full frontal, we really need to take this on. Do you imagine we think of COVID as an accelerant. Do you think that's accelerated in your category, that trend, and you're now compounded by some labor shortages that have been exacerbated by the COVID era? What are you hearing, and what are you thinking about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'll break it down to a couple of different stages. So when COVID first landed, there was an immediate increased need for a solution like Nudge to be able to communicate all of the various safety protocols that retailers had to execute on to keep their people safe and their customers safe. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of phase one, which has obviously continued to sustain to this date. And then as we started to welcome customers back in store, there was a whole new customer journey. We had BOPIS, we had curbside pickup, and all of that required change management at scale across a retailer's footprint. So that again became a pretty significant forcing function for growth for Nudge. And pretty pleased to share that our last quarter was the biggest quarter we've ever had to date in the history of Nudge. And so,
congratulations.
Yeah, it's been obviously exciting. I think for us, we try to lead with just learning. We recognize that our customers in the industry needed to be part of the solution, and our job was to try to be as empathetic as possible to understand all of the various challenges that retailers were trying to navigate, both now, but also in 12 months and 24 months from now, and then build a platform that was designed to help retailers navigate that change. And thankfully, it's manifested into some pretty significant growth for the business. And so we're going to continue to kind of push that intellectual curiosity to figure out how else we can help.
Right on. So help me visualize something. Take me through what the associate's experience of your product is. So the business rationale is now, thanks to your great explanation, evident. But I just want, from an experience perspective, I'm an associate, and I'm an associate of one of the retailers that you do business with. So just to help me unpack that a little bit, what does that experience look like for the associate?
Sure. So on Monday morning, you walk into your retail location and you've downloaded Nudge on your smartphone. It's a free application. It takes about 45 seconds to register. And you now have access to all of the relevant information that you need in your role to be able to deliver a great customer experience. And so if that retailer is rolling out a new promotion, they can push a nudge out to everyone in the field to educate them on that particular LTO. The system is gamified, so I reward you, Michael, with points when you learn about a particular initiative or when you answer a quiz correctly to demonstrate that you understand that information. And then the second key piece of the solution is a feedback loop. So as a brand, I can solicit feedback from my top performers to say, what is it that you're doing that is driving the highest lift in sales around this product? And if you, Michael, are the best sales associate around that product, we can take that behavior and then push it out across the rest of the organization. So it's kind of changing the way that brands communicate, source feedback, and then make better decisions about how they optimize the performance of their people. All in this fun gamified experience that individuals start their day with and end their day with.
So it's both. It's interesting you say gamification, because it's both. It's got to be both practical and engaging, right? Is that a secret sauce that you and the team and designers think about? Is how do we make it not just functional and easy to use, but also entertaining on the receiver end, the associate end? Absolutely.
So Nudge is currently the most highly rated communication platform in our industry, as ranked by frontline associates in the App Store. So we have spent a lot of effort building a platform that frontline employees want to use versus building a platform that departmental leaders want to buy. because our thesis always was, if we can have people using Nudge up to 8 times a week, which is what our average engagement is, the organization can then figure out how they leverage that tremendous engagement to drive different outcomes for the business. And so building a user experience that's gamified, that rewards people for interacting, has always been a competitive differentiator for us, which shows in the user reviews that we have.
Right on. All right. Well, let's get to your advice. I mean, you've got all this insight, and you've been talking to the people who are decision makers in the retail space. 2 starts and 1 stop based on your experience, what you're hearing, and your advice for retailers listening.
Cool. So the first one I'll dive into in terms of a start is activating customer feedback loops across the front line. So most brands that we work with have a customer experience provider that they get feedback from customers around the in-store experience. A lot of those insights are then packaged up and provided to a manager. And we all know managers have a series of priorities on their plate. So quite often those insights are not actually activated on. As a result, brands aren't closing the feedback loop from the customer feedback. So a big piece that we've been spending time on and learning in the industry is how can we actually take those insights and put them in the hands of frontline employees so that they start to understand the different behaviors that they can execute on to deliver a better customer experience. So the whole start is close the feedback loop, take the insights, put them in the hands of frontline employees with solutions like Nudge, and they will deliver a better customer experience. Second one I'll jump in on kind of comes back to my earlier comment, but the employee experience is your number one priority. With the labor market that we're navigating, with the heightened customer expectations that are facing frontline retail employees, we have heard for the last 10 years that we need to provide employees with digital tools to support them in delivering a great experience. And the time has come to start to place investments in your people to both attract and retain your associates so that they can meet the expectations of customers. And then the last one, which is the stop, this one's a little bit more philosophical, but it's treat customers with a lifetime view perspective versus a transaction. So we know foot traffic in retail right now is precious. Consumers are coming into store with more purchase intent than they ever have before. But we need to make sure that we are supporting customers as they interact with our brand, not trying to push a particular product to make a particular sale. Because if you drive long-term loyalty with customers, the LTV of that customer is going to be dramatically higher than if you try to push a transaction in a given moment. So it's a bit of a mind shift towards a consultative selling approach in retail versus that transactional interaction that traditionally happens.
And we've seen such change in consumer behavior, early in the COVID era with big, huge basket sizes, and I just want to get in and get out. And then we'll start to see that kind of wane where the folks become more comfortable being in the store. And then you get back to, as you say, not back to, but as you say, make it clear that the consultative selling and the impulse and, the inspiration comes back into retail and to the associates. Well, this is all great. Great stuff. So thanks for sharing. Now, where can folks get in touch with you and learn more about Nudge, and where should they go?
Yeah, absolutely. They can jump over to our website at nudge.co, and we've just released a new State of the Deskless Workforce report that they can access, where we interviewed over 1,000 frontline retail associates to understand what motivates their behavior. And so that's at nudge.co/deskless report. And yeah, our team is retailers through and through, and we have a huge passion for supporting brands and supporting their people. And so we're always happy and willing to get on a call or an email to share a conversation. And
are you a LinkedIn guy? Should we connect with you on LinkedIn? Is that a good place to get a hold of you?
We can do that as well. My first name is Jordan, last name Ekers, Ekers. I'm also sure that you have a little YouTube channel that's starting up some barbecue work too. So if I give you a plug as well, I think others should check that out.
Well, thank you for the corresponding plug. That's fun. Well, listen, thanks. I look forward to seeing you in real life real soon. But for now, thanks for joining me on the podcast, sharing your insights, and I wish you much continued success and moving forward in 2022 and beyond.
My pleasure, and lovely to share a conversation as always. And thanks so much for inviting us to join.
Thanks for tuning into this special episode of The Voice of Retail. If you haven't already, be sure and click and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so new episodes will land automatically twice a week. And check out my other retail industry media properties, the Remarkable Retail Podcast, Conversations with Commerce Next podcast, and the Food Professor podcast with Dr. Sylvain Charlebois. Last but not least, if you're into barbecue, check out my all-new YouTube barbecue show, Last Request Barbecue, with new episodes each and every week. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc, president of M.E. LeBlanc Company and Maven Media. And if you're looking for more content or want to chat, follow me on LinkedIn or visit my website at meleblanc.co. Have a safe week, everyone.